Welcome to Video Game Book Club, the show where we pick, we play, and we discuss a video game each and every month. I'm your host, Juan Pablo, and your co-host is always Benjamin Tizzle Toops. Video Game Book Club is our monthly show where we play a video game to completion, and then we discuss it thoroughly without fear of spoilers. And then we always answer questions that the community sends to us via our Discord. Listen, just by listening, you are a member of this Video Game Book Club. But if you really want to join, you got to check out the Discord. This month, we are talking about Rain World. And it was a game that was picked by our lovely Ben Toops. Ben, did you know anything about this game before you picked it?
I knew a little bit about this game before I picked it. Like many people, I am prone to a good YouTube video essay every now and then, right? Who amongst us isn't, you know? But so, you watch video essays on all kind of topics, Chinese economics, the stock market, but mostly
finance, bro.
Video games, right? No, but mostly video games. And so there's a few, video essay people that do video game stuff that I watch a lot. There's content I like, and in all of their stuff, one game that always comes up as like a landmark game is Rain World.
Right.
Every time. Every video essayist has that video that's like games that changed my life or whatever, something along those lines. And the two games that always come up in those videos are Outer Wilds, which we've played.
We have.
And Rain World, which we have now played. So, after we did Outer Wilds, at the same time as this last year, pretty much. I think we did Outer Wilds in August.
We did.
So it's only right that we circle back around to the life-changing, exploratory, knowledge-based games, and we give Rain World a go.
Dude, you have made me so excited to talk about Rain World. I was already super pumped to talk about Rain World, but knowing that we played Outer Wilds in August of last year and now we're talking about Rain World in August of this year is pretty sublime, especially when you think about life and death and cycles, which we will get to, but that is so good. So Ben, why don't you tell me?
Relevant to both games.
Exactly, bro. Exactly, dude. Benny, why don't you tell me what is Rain World? What is?
Yeah, so Rain World is obviously the marquee title of Rain World, right? Is Metroidvania. That is the core, presentation of the game. It is a Metroidvania. It is individual rooms with platforms and enemies connected by tunnels and passages and stuff like that. So at its core, that is what it is. It's a Metroidvania, but it's not, like something like a Metroid or like something like a Hollow Knight where you might be expecting to, be, combat equipped in some way. You're not, really expecting that. You are just a slug cat. You are a slug cat. And when the game starts, you don't even know what that is. You just know I'm a little cat looking thing with two pointy ears and a slug like tail. And that's who I am. And you learn very quickly why this isn't like other Metroidvanias, because you probably did, and I know I did, try to fight some stuff early on, and it's not going to go well for you. The slug cat does not win a lot of fights, at least when you're starting off. So, yeah, I mean, Rain World is a Metroidvania, but it's extremely unique in its presentation and its gameplay.
It is so unique. It is also extremely difficult because you are a slug cat and because you are conditioned as a video game enjoyer to think that you can overcome any challenges that a game presents you. If you even take it at face value, there's an enemy, I can go to it and I can figure it out in the moment if I can kill it. You can't in Rain World. You can't. You will face an enemy and they will immediately one hit you, and then you'll face it again and you think, I'll just do something different. No, they will immediately one hit you, and then you'll go again and they again will immediately one hit you, which is really frustrating. But then you start thinking, okay, I'm a slug cat. I am not a predator. I am prey. And so you start thinking about this game in that sense, and it'll start clicking eventually. Give yourselves like 5 hours, and then it'll start clicking. It really doesn't click at the beginning. It is so frustrating in that way. So I called it
because
a
it's
difficult
just
survival Metroidvania. That's what I was gonna say.
it's just so, the reason it takes so long is because it's so ingrained in us, the core, these gameplay mechanics, right, of being able to kill stuff, conquer stuff, combat stuff, and getting stronger.
Yeah.
And that's just not how Rain World works at all. And so it's like so ingrained in us that for a lot of people, I imagine it does take multiple hours for the game to really start clicking with you and to realize, exactly like you said, I am the prey in this ecosystem.
Yeah.
I am not the predator.
And there is no progression. Like, your slug cat will not get stronger. Literally, there's nothing in the game that will make the slug cat stronger, except that you will understand how to play, and you will understand how to play as a slug cat, which is the most important thing. So without going any further with that, let's just get going in how the game presents itself immediately to a new player, and then we can talk a little bit about how all of that will develop as you keep going. So the game starts, and you have this kind of like a picture story of a family of like 4 slug cats, and then 2 of them get separated. They are like smaller, so you can kind of assume that, like, 2 kids got separated from their parents. And basically that's it. You know, there's a little slug cat and he's a little sad, and then the parents are away, and then you're like, you wake up and now you are one of those slug cats. And so you assume that you are a kid, which is really funny because I spent the majority of this game thinking that I was still that kid slug cat. So I assumed that there were slug cats that were bigger than me, or I assumed that I would see slug cats that were like twice my size. And then I realized, no, actually, a lot of time has passed. I'm an adult slug cat now, and this is the size of a slug cat, which is really tiny.
Right. Yeah. No, fair. You brought up an interesting thing, which is there's a handful of times in this game where you get like quote unquote cutscenes, but all they are is just like a really pretty and like well presented picture, basically. Like, it's like essentially a painting, but they're so effective when they do come up, and they're used, like, the developer like keeps them from you, and they only give you a little painting cutscene when you've been a good boy, and they're like, all right, you can have a cutscene as a treat. And every time you get one, you're like locked in. You're like, bro, what's going on here?
You like scan the whole picture.
Exactly.
Do I know
you're
what's
trying to
going
analyze.
on?
So, but yeah, that first, I mean, the initial feeling of that first gameplay moment where you see the cutscene where you're separated and you come into the world and you take control of the slug cat is just, you're just immediately overwhelmed, right? By the controls, by the movement, everything.
The way that the movement initially feels is, not a pun, but it is sluggish. You feel so sluggish,
truly.
Because and I didn't really come to terms to this until way later. And I think that happens a lot with everything mechanically going on in this game. You don't really understand it or really want to accept it until way later. And it's because you are used to playing a superhuman or a super person in some way, or someone that, again, can overcome anything. But again, you are a slug cat. You are a tiny being that isn't equipped with anything other than sliding around and walking around and, a couple jumps here and there. Now, eventually, there is a 72-page PDF like file that you can find online where you can fully max out your movement. Again, not by skills, but by understanding different like combinations of, keystrokes and stuff where you can do cool movements, but you don't know that at all. And you don't really have that to your disposal. So you just feel 2 things. 1, I'm really slow. And 2, I don't jump high at all. So how am I going to do platforming in this Metroidvania if the 2 things that you use at all times to platform are really difficult? And so you immediately start struggling in the game.
Yeah, and beyond that, like the physical controls took a little while too. So like I started playing the game on keyboard and mouse.
Ooh.
And I know there is like a big subset of people that do play the game keyboard and mouse, but it just was not happening for me. Like, I was not doing well on KBM. It was like terrible for me. So I pretty quickly switched to controller. And even on controller, it still took me a minute to like understand, okay, this button eats, this button throws, you figure out stuff like you can hold stuff in both hands, and you kind of slowly figure out like, okay, if I double tap the grab button, I can like switch hands, and it allows me to, do hot swap and do different stuff.
Dude,
basically,
I didn't realize that for so long. The only really tutorial that you get is this little robot or hologram of a robot appears. It is orange, yellowish, and it kind of tells you a few things. Jump with A. You can hold down, if you crouch and you hold down the jump button, you will do like a lunge. You have to hold it for like a few seconds. The little butt of the slug cat goes up, and that's your indication that you can lunge. And then you can grab things with your grab button, and then you can eat things, and that's it. And I talked about eating. So Ben, how did you feel about the food system and the eating system in Rain World? That's my first question of the day.
Yeah, so talking about the food system, like that, it's one of the core gameplay mechanics that you have to. So more setup that's kind of required to talk about this. One thing you learn very early on is that the days in this game don't last very long. No. They last like sometimes as short as 5 minutes, sometimes as long as 10 minutes. And it's random. It varies. And this game is called Rain World. You may be asking yourself, what's the deal with the rain? At the end of each day, this torrential downpour happens that pretty much kills all living things, like torrential downpour. And if you don't make it to a shelter in time, you will not survive. You die and you'll restart the day. But in order to successfully hibernate through the rain at a shelter, with some caveats, you have to have enough food. Your slug cat has a little bar with nodes that indicate how much food you have, and you have to have a certain amount to hibernate.
Yes.
So like you were saying, food is really important in this game. One of your pretty much every day when you wake up in this game, when you start a new day, your priorities go in this order: find food, find shelter, maybe advance the plot if you have some time. Like that, it's advancing the plot is that far down on the list of priorities. So it's important. And the game tries to, like you mentioned, the little yellow robot guy that's kind of pointing and directing you around. You don't know what this dude is, but apparently he's here to help you in some way. We don't know why. But he kind of tries to direct you and tell you where food is. And you're supposed to just kind of figure out for yourself really what you can and can't eat.
It's hard to get to that point. At the beginning, I think in the tutorial you eat these bats. I kept calling them butterflies the whole time, and then I realized that they're not really butterflies; they're bats. And you catch them in the air, which is extremely difficult at the beginning. Actually, it's extremely difficult the whole game. I struggle with the bats, and then you can munch on them. And when the slug cat munches on them, it is so cute, so endearing that you start immediately loving slug cat. Even though he is useless, but you start loving him. And you can find like fruit and stuff. And eventually you figure out that you can kill certain enemies and you can eat them. But you have the core loop right now of the game. As Ben mentioned, you can walk around, you can platform, you can kind of hold on to stuff and go through different tunnel systems that go from room to room-ish in this map. And then when you find a spot to hibernate, and I call them hibernation stations, then you can go hibernate, and that is your save feature as well. So you save when you get to these hibernation stations, and then your cycle goes forward one day, but something happens. When you go forward that one day, a screen appears. Slugcat is sleeping very peacefully. And if you have been a very good boy, you will see a little picture story that will advance the plot, or maybe not advance the plot. It'll show you an interesting painting about Slugcat. And you have these 5 little circles with a symbol inside that go forward by one symbol if you successfully hibernate. And you don't really understand that right now. So I'll say it's really important. cool. Let's go back to the world. And you're like, okay, I need to go somewhere. I don't know where. Let's go. It's a Metroidvania. Obviously, you know that you just need to explore, and exploring is half of it. The problem is exploring in this game at the beginning is extremely difficult because you go out there and then you'll find these lizards, which are the most common enemy in the game. They are three times your size, maybe a little bit more. So they're immediately scary. And you think, okay, I can probably take them on. Now, again, you don't have any weapons or anything. You're a little slug cat. You can pick things up. There's two things mainly that you'll be picking up. One is a rock and another one is a stick that has a pointy end, and you can call it a spear or a lance. You can use those things to kind of navigate the world, make noise so that the lizards go that direction, or you can just try to throw it at them, and then they might get stunned or they might not get stunned. You kind of have to figure that out. The problem is, it is hilarious. This game, the developers of this game want to, I can't think of another word, but they just want to mess with you at all times. And they do this thing, which I don't know if you noticed, Ben. If you are standing as Slugcat in a, let's say, even plane, and there's a lizard right in front of you, slithering towards you, and you have a rock in your hand, if you throw it, you are just tall enough that the rock will not hit the lizard. It'll go over the lizard. And so it starts making you panic. And then you realize that and you say, oh crap, I have to crouch. Then I have to throw the rock, and then it'll hit the lizard and stun him for like a second. It doesn't even do damage. It just stuns them.
I had many opportunities where I'm panicking. A lizard is coming after me. I've got a spear. And I'm like, okay, here I go, last stand, throw the spear, and then it just sails directly over them. I'm like, okay, great.
And it does, and then eventually you figure it out, and you grab a spear, and you say, okay, I got him this time. I'm gonna crouch. Lizard is right in front of me. Throw this spear. But what do you know? The lizard has a really hard head, and the spear just bounces off of him. So at that point, I said, okay, I can't fight anything. I'm just gonna stealth. So then the game becomes like a stealth mission of, you're in a hibernation station. You get out, you go to try to get some food, then you walk around and try to fill out your map, and then try to get to a next hibernation station without dying, and then hope that you can get there and hibernate, and then do it again the next cycle.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and we mentioned that the game has no progression, right? And that's true. There's no skill tree, there's no attributes. Your Slugcat is not leveling up. You are leveling up. You as the player are leveling up through your brain and what you're learning as you play the game. There's so much environmental factors that affect this game. And I say environmental very specifically because the developers are trying to create a real ecological system here where, hey, there's these lizards that JP and I are talking about struggling to get past and figure out. But if another lizard comes in the room, those two lizards might start fighting, and that creates an opportunity for me to escape. Or there might be a bigger predator that comes in and swoops and snatches the lizard and flies away. And it's like you learn how to interact with the environment and with the ecology of the environment. And that's one of the most unique parts of the game, in my opinion.
It is incredibly unique, but it is incredibly frustrating at the beginning because you really just need to understand how it works by trial and error. So there's, I don't want to say there's only two types of people, but the two types of people that will, when you get to this game will be, this is so frustrating. I've tried 10 things and I can't get it. I'm quitting. Or this is so frustrating. I've tried 10 things. I'm not getting it. Okay, I'm going to try 10 more. And if you are that person that will try 10 more, then you got this. And then you'll be able to get through it. But if you're that person that, half the people won't be able to get through it and they shouldn't. Listen, this game is incredible. And I really, really came to love it. And that's spoiler of what I'm going to say later because I love this game. But dude, I hate it too. I hate this game. I love it, but I hate it.
I can't even tell you how many moments of like pure frustration I had when I'm like at the very end of a cycle, I'm rushing to get to a shelter. I go through one last pipe and there's a lizard right there who just eats me and kills me.
I know.
So many moments of frustration, but
So many. I also think a
it's all
little
part of
bit,
it.
we talked about like how this is like a room to room situation. And it's not necessarily that it's room to room. The problem with some of the frustration that, again, might be not coincidental, but actually they meant to do this, is that if you're like in a big environment and you're going from one place to the next, the screen moves when you reach the end of the screen. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you've gone to another room. So there might be a lizard literally waiting for you right on the other side of that screen, but you can't see it. Even though realistically Slugcat can see that, but you, the player, can't. So you reach the end of the screen and then the camera moves you a little bit to the right and then you see, oh my God, there's 5 lizards in front of me. What the hell? And then you run away as fast as you can. So there's other ways of the game like trying to like mess with you and kind of making you feel that you are prey and that the whole world is disadvantaged to you, or you have a big disadvantage to in this world. But let's kind of talk about how you go through it. So fine, you kind of figured out a little bit. Maybe you're really not that good at this game just yet. I certainly wasn't. But you figure out, okay, I can see the map. The map is semi 3D. It's like a 2D map with 3 layers, basically. And so you say, okay, cool. I see that there's something over here, and my orange overseer is telling me, yo, go north. Cool, I'm gonna go north. You get there, but then you can't get through it. There's a gate, and this gate has a really weird symbol. But wait, I have seen this symbol before. It's the same symbols that I get when I hibernate and I kind of quote unquote level up. And so you tell yourself, I understand it now. I need to hibernate enough times to reach a certain level so that then the gate opens up for me and I can go to the next area. And that is your Metroidvania progression system. And that's kind of like your first maybe eureka moment of the game. Even though you still feel like you suck at the game, you're like, okay, at least I can go to the next area,
Yeah. And when you hit those first few gates, that doesn't sound like that big of a problem, right? Because you're like, okay, I know something about the environment that I'm in right now. I know how, I can, if I'm not at the right level right now, I can just go back to the hibernation station I came from. I know where all the food is along the way. I'll just hibernate a few times and I'll get through the gate. But there's a problem because this game is not deterministic like that. Every time you start a new cycle, every time you successfully hibernate, things are going to be different. There's going to be enemies in different places that weren't there the previous day. There's going to be, if there were, a cluster of berries hanging from the ceiling that you ate to hibernate yesterday, those berries aren't going to be there tomorrow. So you have to constantly be adapting and constantly being, kind of venturing out to figure out how to be getting through all these different environments, even if it's an environment that you feel like you kind of know. But yeah, eventually you kind of figure these things out and you make it through your first gate, and you don't really know what the gate is. You still don't know what these symbols are. You like you said, that they probably correspond to some kind of level. When I first started playing, and I think this is probably common, I assumed they were like calendar days, basically.
Yeah,
I was like,
same.
Because you finish a day and it goes to the next one. But then when you die, it goes back to the previous one. And it's like, well, wait a second, what's happening here? But yeah, you kind of start to understand that this is like your level system. And in order to get through certain gates, you have to survive a certain number of times.
And so you get through the gate and you get to your second area. So you start the game in the outskirts. That means, okay, I'm outside of something. Let's get into that something. And then you get to the industrial complex. And we haven't really talked about how the game looks, but the game, it is extremely depressing, especially in the first few areas. It is dark. It is like sad. Everything kind of looks like rotten or decrepit, kind of like everything is kind of semi falling apart. But it also has this kind of vibe that I don't know how to call it other than like a biotech punk. Like it is, creatures are alive and moving, but they glow and they have neon and they have like weird, like maybe metallurgy around their bodies. And you are, again, in an industrial complex, which kind of, you could say it's kind of steampunk, but it goes beyond steampunk. It's more techy than steampunk.
Sure.
And so I'm calling it biotech, but it's a really depressing biotech punk. It's like a new genre that I just coined. So, you know, you
Just
can
now.
put me, you can put me in the credits at any moment when you mention that. But you go through it and then you realize, okay, this is the second area. I just need to do the same thing. But the game then tells you, okay, cool. You can figure out these two types of lizards. But what if I tell you that there's a million other types of enemies? And so you start discovering that every single area will be more difficult, which of course you understand that because it's a game and it'll progress in like its difficulty. But you are not ready for that difficulty spike just yet because you're still not good at this game. You just kind of stumbled upon the first gate. But then, Ben, I had this moment in Industrial Complex where I just wanted to absolutely quit the game. I was so frustrated with it because I went through the whole Industrial Complex and I went and found this gate and I texted Ben about it, or maybe I said it in the Discord. Oh my God, I got to Industrial Complex. I have level 4 right now and I need one more level to get through this 5-level gate. And Ben was like, a 5-level gate? I don't think I saw that 5-level gate. And I was like, oh, really? Okay, cool. It's okay. I'm going to hibernate and then I'm going to go eat. Then I died 4 times in a row. And so I went from level 4 to level 1. And then I kept dying continuously for like
Many
hours.
such cases.
For hours, dude. And I was like, how can you play this game? At that point, I wanted to quit. I was like, how can you play this game? How can I get better at this game? And it was so depressing, bro.
Yeah, no, I had very similar experiences where I didn't want to quit, but I had to like put the game down for the night basically because I would like, and I said this to you, we were talking about, you know, how long it's going to take to finish this game as we were playing it. And I said, you know, you were like a little behind me and you were like, I'm just going to, you know, lock in, grind it out. And I was like, I don't know if that's possible because like I physically cannot play more than 2 hours of this game at a time because it reaches like invariably within that 2 hours, I'm going to reach a level of frustration where I have to put the game down, walk away for the night. Like it just happens. You hit a skid like you just described where you just cannot get past whatever it is, whether it's a platforming jump or a lizard or a different enemy. You die 10 times in a row and suddenly all the levels you've built up are gone. You can't get through the gate you need to get through. And it feels impossible.
It feels impossible. You are fighting so many things. At this point in the game, you still really haven't mastered movement. So movement feels kind of not bad, but it feels rough. It feels tough. And you say, oh my God, there's a lizard behind me. There's 2 fruits right there. There's a lizard kind of guarding the fruit. I have a stick. I have a pebble. Cool. I'm going to make these 3 jumps. I'm going to throw my stick and pebble. I'm going to grab the 2 fruit. Then I'm going to hop away, go into a tunnel, and then go hibernate. Great plan. Let's execute it. You say that, and then you jump, and then you fuck up the jump, and then the lizard eats you immediately. And then you say, I hate this game. I hate this game. You know, like you're like, I can't even do this. And that's why, like, there's so many things. Like the game itself is simple, right? You're just like, you don't have any abilities, and all you have to do is platform around. But every single kind of mechanic that they added, the movement, the rain, the fact that you have to eat, and the fact that every enemy is bigger than you and you have this time crunch makes it so that you want to play the game in a panicked way. And that panic makes you play worse. And you won't get rid of that panic until you understand 2 things. 1, you just need time to understand how the movement works, and eventually it'll feel natural. And 2, know that dying is just part of the game and that there's nothing wrong with it, and it'll just make you better in the long run.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely agreed. So we kind of made it through Industrial Complex. The next area is Garbage Wastes, which the only like real thing about this area that I had was like, this is where you meet kind of the apex predator of this ecosystem for the first time, which is these giant skull birds that have like skull masks. And so garbage waste is literally just, it's basically just a flat plane that just goes in a straight line. And patrolling the skies of this flat plane is this giant vulture skull looking bird. And so you have to like be very careful, because if you're exposed for too long, the bird is going to swoop down and come and grab you. So you got to like kind of move from cover to cover. Invariably the bird is going to come after you, and you got to kind of find somewhere to hole up and avoid it. But you get through, that was kind of the other big part of this area for me. This is where you also meet the scavengers for the first time.
Yes.
So the scavengers are, there's plenty of hostile enemies in this game. There's plenty of enemies in this game that you are kind of the predator of. So there's like, smaller creatures like the bat flies that you mentioned that you're the predator of. And then there's these scavengers that are neutral. They are pretty neutral. If you they're a little more like not human shaped, but like person shaped than any other kind of thing in the game. And they just kind of run around in packs. They will fight other animals.
They have a bunch of weapons on them.
You kind of have to, how you interact with them like determines how they interact with you. So like if you come into a room guns blazing and you've got a spear in your hands, the scavengers might think that's threatening and they might attack you. But if you come in and you drop your spear and you hang out, then they'll kind of run up, they'll probably take your spear, but then they'll leave you alone. And eventually, as enough time goes by, if you interact with them in that way, or you can be like the number one scav op, which like probably like they're pretty deadly, so that might not go well. But I personally tried to, be friendly to them whenever I could, and like give them my weapon or like throw some food to them or stuff like that. I don't know about you.
I honestly, all I can think about when I think about garbage waste is the fact that at this point, I think I was at my lowest of the low with this game. Like outskirts to industrial complex to garbage waste kind of broke my soul. And I was this close, Ben. I was this close of restarting the game. I would never quit the game, obviously. This is VGBC. We have to play these games. We have to play it for our conversation. And because we love games, you have to give it a try. But I was at my lowest low. I was like, yeah, this game's going to suck. I'm going to restart the game as the monk. So that's the other character that you can play in Rain World. And the monk is basically an easier version of the game where instead of 4 nodes of food that you need to complete to hibernate, you only need to do 3. There's less enemy spawns. And in general, the game is a little bit easier. Ben mentioned that huge vulture. That vulture ate me like a million times, and I was just so frustrated. And I was like, man, it said that the vultures and the birds in general don't spawn as much in monk. So I was like, all right, cool, I'll just play as monk. But then I kept reading the wiki, and then it said, however, the monk is a vegetarian, so you can only eat fruit and you can't kill enemies to eat. Now at this point, I had not killed enemies, I don't think. I mean, the only things that I had killed is the bat flies, but you don't really kill them. You just grab them and you eat them, And then I was like, wait a second, I can kill enemies and eat them? That's sick, So I was like, no, I need to give Survivor a try, and then I need to keep going. Survivor is the normal mode, and keep going and try to actually make it happen, And so I was like, no, let's go. So I loaded up the game, and then immediately, there's this huge centipede, and the centipede is an enemy, but the centipede has like little centipede babies, and you can kill the babies. And if you kill the babies, you restore 2 food. And I said, what? I didn't know that. So I grabbed the spear, kill the bug, restore 2 food, and now I'm cruising. Now I'm like, okay, this area is not that bad. I just need to hide from the vulture. I don't need to worry about the food too much because I can go underground, kill some bugs, go back up, and then go through that kind of plane with the dump and then go forward until eventually you reach the next area. And at that point, this area saves the game for me. Like, if you can make it to Shoreline, which is the next area, you will love this game, I think, because in Shoreline, the game changes. It's not like super depressing in a dump. I mean, garbage waste is literally a dump. Like, you still have only seen depressing places, but you get to Shoreline, And it is water world time, baby. It is water world time. There's a little neutral character, neutral like creature, I guess, in water world, where if you offer it food, it'll kind of swim around by you. And then if you jump on its back, you can ride it like a dolphin, or you can ride it like a cowboy rides a horse. But in this point, it is in the water, and you can zoom.
Wait, you gave them food? I just grabbed them.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
No.
You're talking about the little like dolphin bug things?
Yeah, my little dolphin bugs.
You can just grab them, bro. You don't need to give them food.
Wait, but if you toss food, they come to you. Like there's not dolphin bugs everywhere, you know. So I always would have food, and I would toss one, and they would all come running. Bro, that is so funny. You just waited for them and try to get there.
No, I didn't wait. I would just like swim if one wasn't near me, and then eventually one kind of comes to you no matter what. You just grab it.
That is so funny. No, I threw food, and then they would come. I think at this point, okay, this is something that if you haven't played this game and at this point you really want to, you need to go to menu and turn on remix. Like if you're one of those people that really, really, really don't want to know anything about the game, then you know, what are you even doing listening? Like you should just go play. But if you're one of those people that, okay, you're okay with some tips and tricks and maybe a couple of hints that won't spoil the game, turn on remix. Anyways, Waterworld was definitely one of my favorite areas, and it saved the game for me. And then you finally eventually reach kind of the first, I'm going to call it climax of the game. You have been down in the dumps this whole time, and you reach that first peak, and there's three of them that I can think of that will kind of make you really like this game. You go through Shoreline, and you get to an area that looks completely different than anything you've seen. It kind of definitely goes in hand with that techie vibe. You are almost like in some sort of supercomputer that is like alive around you. You see all these like hieroglyphics that are like glowing, but they are glowing and they kind of look like microchips in some way. And this is where the overseer has been guiding you this whole time. Your yellow companion that doesn't really talk to you, and it's kind of an asshole half the time because he doesn't really help you unless you're really down in the dumps, has been leading you to this situation right now.
This thing, yeah. So this, yeah, like you said, it's a totally different environment. It's an interesting point in the game because it changes the game, I think, a lot. So far, you're the Slugcat. You've been interacting with animals and, you know, creatures and stuff like that. And as you go, the Guardian shows you like some images occasionally. Like one thing that he normally does is he shows you a picture of your family as he's like pointing towards a location, being like, hey, your family's this way, Slugcats are this way, go this way. Which I actually have thoughts about that.
Okay,
but,
sure.
That we'll talk about later. But he also starts showing you pictures of what looks like a little alien looking thing.
Yes.
So as you get deeper into this, you know, big supercomputer, you know, techie looking thing, you encounter this alien. And I have a very unfortunate story about this alien because we talked about the cycles of the game. We talked about, you know, the hunger and how that dictates when you can hibernate and stuff like that. I reached this alien at the very end of a day cycle. And I like, as you get close to the cycle, it gets very stressful. Your screen starts to like shake. You start getting this like really intense rumbling in your ears, letting you know that the rain is coming. And it basically, it's stressful. And so I was at the very end of a day cycle. I needed like a couple more food to be able to hibernate. And I was in a new area. I had no idea where to find it. So I run in, I see Moon for the first time. I see her there. She doesn't speak. She kind of makes these little noises. but there's all these things flying around Moon, these little white fly looking things. So I was desperate. I grab a little fly looking thing and immediately start trying to eat it, and you can. And so I start eating these flies. I think I ate 2 of the flies, and then it was time for me to get out of there because I was going to die in the rain if I didn't. I eat 2 flies and I get back to the shelter, and all of a sudden my guardian's gone. My guardian is gone. And I was like, what
God.
is happening? And I immediately took to the internet trying to figure out what just happened to me. What did I just do? Lo and behold, these little fly things are neurons, or they're called neurons. They're basically like computing units for this character you just met, whose name is Moon, looks to the moon. That's the name of the area you're in. But they are neurons. They are her neurons. And as you eat them, it harms her. And if you harm her, the overseer doesn't like that. And he's not going to tell you where to go anymore. So you're toast. You're out of luck. So for the rest of the playthrough, I did not have my overseer.
I find that so this unfortunate for you, just so unfortunate for you, because as I mentioned, the overseer, he's not really like telling you where to go all the time. Like he kind of like goes away for a while. He's like, "Hey brother, I'm going on a vacation. I think you got it, man. I'll be back in 5 to 6 business days, and then I'll help you next time." You know, like he really only like hangs out like once every hour or so. And so for like an hour, you really don't know where to go until he kind of feels bad for you, and then he tells you, "Hey, go this way." But that "Hey, go this way" is amazing. Like it helps so much, especially in the areas coming up after Looks to the Moon. So I am so sorry that happened to you. That sucks. But also, this is a great opportunity to talk about the music and the sound design in this game, because when the rain comes, you can't hear anything else. The game kind of mutes itself, and you have that kind of like, if you have tinnitus, you have kind of like that ringing noise in your ears, kind of like a soft ringing. And then eventually the ground starts shaking, you can hear the rumble, and then it starts raining. And it is so loud. It is so loud. Like the whole game is very quiet, but the way that it works, different enemies and different rooms, quote unquote, that you walk in will trigger different songs or different tracks. The cool thing about it is that the tracks won't just play with all the instruments. So for example, you walk into a room and you see a lizard. And so a track with just maybe like a hi-hat will start playing. So it'd be like tick, 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 tick. And then you start moving a little bit. Maybe you grab a spear, and then maybe another lizard walks into the frame. And so then another instrument will kick in. And then you want to leave and you get out of there. There's no more music anymore. But then you like trigger another track in a different room, and then a different song starts playing, and it kind of tells you something. Either maybe there's something interesting around here, or you need to, maybe there's a gate around here or something. And it is so effective. Like you're constantly like not hearing anything and then hearing stuff. But when you go to Looks to the Moon, and I also, just like you, grabbed a neuron because they're grabbable, and they're why be grab shaped if I can't grab, And I grabbed it, and she immediately starts shrieking. She shrieks so loud, and it's just so unlucky that you were in that like rain is about to come. You can't hear anything anymore because it is incredibly loud. Anyway, so she's like, let it go. She can't speak, or at least, you can't communicate with her. So I let it go. And that's it. You met your first NPC, but you can't really talk to them and nothing really happens. And so you just leave. You're like, all right, see you later. So then you're kind of like, well, was super exciting, but also kind of sucks. So let's just go. But then you go hibernate in your hibernation station. You get out of it. And the overseer is like, all right, baby, time to go to a different area. And he starts showing you a new symbol that you've never seen before. And you're like, oh, I see. Moon wants me to go somewhere, and the overseer is going to take me there. And now, since I met Moon, the overseer will take me there. Now, you assume that. You don't really know that for sure because, again, you haven't spoken to anyone at all this game. But you're like, okay, let's do that. But my question to you is, how did you feel at this point in the game? And what was your understanding of what was going on in that moment?
bad. I felt bad when I immediately after eating the neurons, I hibernated, and the little cutscene I got shown while I was hibernating was Moon, this cute little blue alien, like crying on, like shriveled up and crying on the ground, and I was like, "Bro, how should I know? Like, what was what do I do? I was dying. What was I supposed to do?" I felt so bad. And like in another game, I would have reloaded my save. And I considered just starting over at this point because
really?
I was like,
Dang.
this is a disaster.
Yeah,
like I'm without the Guardian. But I mean, at this point, I was like 6 or 7 hours into the game. And I was like, I would get back faster because I know more stuff now. But I don't want to do all that again. So I'm just gonna power through it. But yeah, I mean, at this point in the game, I felt bad and I had no idea what was going on. Like the meeting Moon is great. Does it tell you a lot about what's happening in this world? No. So nothing really changed in that regard. But yeah, that was tough for me.
That sucks. For me, I started feeling excited. I was like, okay, we clearly have finished like the early portion of the game and we are going towards the mid game of Rain World.
Yeah.
And for me, it meant two things. One, I am better at the game. Like my game mechanic feel is stronger. So I am platforming a little bit better. I am dealing with lizards a little bit better. This is probably when I started killing like my first lizard and I actually had like my first successful fight against them, which man was bad for my ego because I was like, oh, okay, I can kill every single being in this planet now. This is gonna be really easy, which was really bad because then I just kept dying and dying and dying, attempting to fight every living creature, which is funny. But the second thing is like, okay, I am feeling good about Rain World in general. I understand that now we're going from one little alien to maybe the next one. So let's go find it. And basically the Overseer, what you need to do is go up, up, and up. That's kind of how I felt that the next area is led. At this point, we're going like east all the time. Like you're just going left to right-ish. And now the Overseer takes you back one area and then you go through a different gate and then you start going up. But the cool thing about it is that you reach this area called Shaded Citadel. So you were in Looks to the Moon, you go back to Shoreline, and then from Shoreline, there's a different gate that takes you to Shaded Citadel. And this is when, in my game, I actually started seeing the scavengers a lot more. So Ben mentioned that in Garbage Waste, he started seeing the scavengers, and I don't even really remember them from there.
Okay.
I started remembering them in Shaded Citadel. In Shaded Citadel, I saw so many scavengers, and at that point, I don't know. Again, I hadn't really known them for too long. So because of the Discord and stuff, I knew that I had to give them these pearls and they love these pearls. And by giving them pearls, your friendship with them goes up. And I had a lot of them stashed. So I was just like, here you go, here you go, here you go. So I gave them so many pearls. And one of them gave me a light. And I adored that light. And I called it LED light system. And there's a mechanic that we haven't talked about this game, but you can hold, like Ben said, one thing in your right arm, one thing in your left arm. If you throw something, it'll always be the thing in your right arm. So you have to always make sure that you put whatever you want to throw in your right arm. You can also force a item down your throat into your stomach for safekeeping, and then you can puke it out whenever you want. So I just tossed LED light system in my stomach, and then I was a glowing cat through the whole Shaded Citadel, through Memory Crypt, and like leg and underhang, and all of those areas are really dark, especially Shaded Citadel. So I was illuminating rooms and stuff because I had eaten this LED light system, and it was so good. It made this area feel a lot better and a lot less scary.
I was doing that. I was also glowing, but for a different reason, because I ate the neurons. So if you eat the neurons, you start to glow. For whatever reason, you glow. So I was also glowing. I also had that experience.
I didn't realize that.
It's really helpful. It's really helpful because in the Shaded Citadel specifically, there's all these creatures that lurk in the darkness, and they'll come and attack you and kill you. Unless you have some sort of light source. If you have a light source, they are too scared of it and they won't approach the light, basically. So both of us found, independent solutions to that problem.
We did, and
made our way through Shaded Citadel.
Yeah, and this is why this game, you will have a vastly different experience in this game from someone else, because like Ben mentioned, every enemy is in different locations in every cycle. It's kind of random. Like, you won't have the same experience in cycle 3 as someone else in cycle 3 in the same room. Like, you won't. And Ben ate a neuron, which was kind of bad for him, but also it made Shaded Citadel kind of easy. I just stumbled upon a merchant scavenger, and I just happened to have a pearl in my stomach that I gave to him, and then he gave me a light, and then I ate it. Like, I could have just thrown the light and not used it. I was like, oh, whatever, I'll just eat it because, I don't know, it's fun. And then it made this part of the game easier. But, like, what if you had talked to Moon, then not found the scavenger, and you were just in complete darkness trying to go through Shaded Citadel? I think that would have been horrible.
Yeah, it would have been hard.
Been so
it would have
tough.
been really hard.
There's also a really interesting enemy in you go through Shaded Citadel and Memory Crypts, I think it's called.
Yeah.
There's these birds that have scissors for their mouth, and Ben asked me, how did you deal with these birds? And it's kind of the same thing. Like, everyone will have a different experience. Like, for some reason, in the cycle that I was in, I just reached that area, maybe like midday, let's say. And all of them were running right above me as I got there, and they all passed me. Like, I saw like 8 freaking birds just run past me, and I said, oh, wow, okay. And then I got out of the tunnel and I started running. And then I didn't see one for another like 4 rooms. So I was just
That's
like, oh,
crazy.
this area is kind of easy. And I just was hanging around, jumping around, and then I saw one, but it was just the one. So I hid, he ran, and then I kept going. So yeah, it's just, everyone's going to have a different experience, and it's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't have too much trouble with that. They're horrifying. Like, the sound design of them is horrifying, and the way they run in packs is horrifying. So, like, it was just a stressful part of the game for me, because they run back and forth in this giant path, in this giant pack, and you have to make progress because there's no save points in the memory crypt. It's basically one long flat stretch, and you have to get through it in one go. There's no hibernation points.
There isn't. Yeah.
And so it's just stressful because, like, the day's running out of time. There's not a lot of food in this area as well. And yeah, they're just roving back and forth trying to kill you, basically. So it's just stressful. But I think that area only took me like 1 or 2 tries to get through.
Yeah. And that's honestly fine. Like, there's some areas, bro, that takes 30 tries to get through. Like,
yeah,
I genuinely, I wish I had like a statistics page after the game to show me like, yo, brother, you died 267 times, because probably I did. I probably did.
Yeah.
At this point, you reach probably the best area of the game, I would say. You finally reach this gigantic structure, and this is what I say when I meant that you have to go up and up and up. So you kind of get to this like building, I guess, that you kind of see, and you just have to climb that thing, and it is gigantic. And so you go through 2 areas called the leg and underhang, and it's all a series of, like, again, I guess platforming, a lot of ropes, a lot of just like jumping around and going up, up, and up. And this area has one really cool creature that is also neutral that you can grab, and it helps with kind of climbing, as we're calling it. This, you find a Spider-Man bug, as I've called it, because again, like, you don't know the names of anything. You can't talk to anyone. I just make up names for stuff. And you have this bug that you grab in your hand, and if you double jump, he'll kind of throw a tongue and stick to whatever platform is above you. And so you can kind of Spider-Man around in the leg and underhang, and it just makes it so much fun. And not to mention the atmosphere of this area. It is so eerie. There's these flying little like green, like, let's call them like flies, or kind of, what are those linternas? You know what that is? Those little flies that have the butt light.
Yeah, like a firefly.
Firefly, thank you. Yeah, it's kind of like these green fireflies, and it's I don't know. I really like that area. You find these lizards for the first time. They're yellow. There's a lot of white lizards there too. So the whole environment changes, and you feel like you're kind of getting to a really, really good moment in the game.
Yeah, agreed. this game was like the leg and underhang as kind of a unit are very similar, but I mean, I thought this was a really cool area. I think it's kind of overshadowed by the next area.
Oh yeah.
But there's so many unique creatures. You start to see this weird like octopus looking thing for the first time. This like living blob of nothingness that just like shoots tentacles all over the place and will just like grab you from across the room and pull you into it and kill you.
It is gigantic. Also.
So that was crazy. I was like, what is that? What in the world is that? But yeah, you get through this. There's another really high karma gate. So I had a scenario, and I'm sure you did too, where I had to like kind of hunker down for a few days and try to figure out how to raise my karma. But yeah, eventually you get through these two areas and you reach I don't know if I would call it the climax of this game, but like the kind of narrative peak of the game.
It's the second climax for sure. It was Moon first, and then you reach an area called Five Pebbles. And you don't really understand what Five Pebbles is. In my head, I'm like, well, Moon had 5 neurons, so maybe I need to grab 5 pebbles for her. I don't know.
Sure.
But you go into the area, and then immediately, well, there's no gravity anymore. And you start floating around and there's no sound either. And you're like, what? And Slugcat is just floating in 0G and just kind of like floating in space, kind of spinning a little bit. It is really hard to navigate going room to room to room like this. But it just makes such a good environment. Everything is extremely techy at this point. I was kind of explaining it as you're like inside of a brain that is a computer, like a computer brain. And kind of what it is, to be honest. Mm-hmm. So you go through this area and then you reach this sub-region, let's call it, that is called Unfortunate Development. Something like that, I think. And that area kicked my ass. That area kicked my ass, dude. I could not. That was like another kind of one of those luck moments where I probably died like 30 times trying to get through it.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You know, it's called Five Pebbles quotation Unfortunate Development, and you're like, what does that mean? Like, I don't know what that means. But as you go through it, it starts to become kind of overrun with these blob-looking things that we saw in the previous area. All of these giant spindly octopus things are kind of, there's more and more of them, and they're also growing out of the walls. All of the walls in this Unfortunate Development area are made out of these blobs, and if you touch them, you get pulled into them, you die. So it's really hard to navigate, because to navigate in the 0G, you have to like push off of stuff basically. And so you have to like precisely angle your joystick so that you're pointing where you want to go. Otherwise, you're gonna hit a living wall and you're gonna die. Yeah. And there's also like the gravity starts kicking on and off, and you come across this like big gravity drive looking thing that's kind of oscillating on and off. So it creates a kind of cool gameplay mechanic where you have to like kind of run around in normal gravity and then get to a point where when the gravity turns off, you can kind of shoot yourself across a gap or like to a ledge or something like that. So that was really cool.
I think something that I felt about the 0G that was a little bit unintuitive is that you had to throw an item or a rock or something towards where you wanted to go for Slugcat to kind of toss himself that direction. But I feel like in every other game that has some sort of like zero gravity mechanic, you have to do the opposite. You throw it away from you and you propel the other direction. And I messed that up so often, dude, that I was just kind of floating because I messed up my momentum. And then the octopus just absolutely killed me. And I didn't call them octopuses. My name for them were creepers because they are so creepy.
Nice.
They're my little creepy guys.
They are creepy. Yeah. So yeah, you get through Unfortunate Development, and finally you reach another kind of big chamber looking thing. When we found Moon, she was in this kind of chamber that looked like it was broken down, but now we come across a fully functional chamber. We go in, there's a little guy that looks similar to Moon. He's a different color, but he's kind of similarly shaped. They look very similar. And instead of being, sprawled out on the ground and looking kind of decrepit, he's flying all over the place. He's attached to this big arm that's like moving all over the room in 4 axes. And it's like, there's all these pearls floating around. There's neurons flying all over the room. And you, into whatever is happening in here, falls our little slug cat. And the guy just kind of stops and looks at you like,
what the hell
are you doing here? And he kind of says some stuff, but it's not really registering. Like, you can't understand him. And kind of some time passes where he's kind of just looking at you like, And then it seems like he comes to a decision and he picks you up and you're floating in the middle of this chamber. And all of a sudden he shows you this like little diagram of yourself, basically this like, cutout of a slug cat, and it's like pointing to the slug cat's brain. He's basically telling you, listen, your brain's just not really big enough right now. Brain syndrome, bro. So he exactly, but he increases your brain power somehow, and he gives you the ability to communicate with him, which was pretty incredible, I thought.
It is so incredible. I was so excited when I saw 5 Pebbles. I also remember like going through this area again. It was so difficult for me that once I got there and I went through the chamber, I knew something was about to happen. Like sometimes you have those moments in games where you like are anticipating it. It's hard. You go through the room and it delivered 1,000,000%. Like I was so pumped after I got through Pebble. But then Pebble starts talking to you, and he is 5 Pebbles, and he's kind of like an asshole, he's kind of like very dismissive of you, and he's like, yo, but he kind of understands where you're coming from a little bit, but he's like, listen, my guy, I am so much more of a superior being than you that I'm kind of like a god to you, and you're just a dweeb, okay? 2, I understand that you've been stuck in this life and death cycle, and you're very frustrated. Every time that you die, you just come back to life, and you just can't get away from this kind of like plane of existence. So I'm going to tell you something, my guy. Go all the way west and then go all the way down to the center of the planet. All right, get the hell out of here. And that's basically it. And you're like, what? And so then I didn't want to leave. And so he tells you, okay, get out of here, and he kind of like turns 0G on again so that you can kind of exit the chamber because the tunnel is all the way up top. And I didn't leave. I just stayed there. I was like, surely he's going to tell me more. And then he goes, all right, I'm not joking. Like, get out of here. And then I didn't leave. And he's like, bro, I'm going to give you one more warning. Get out of here. And I'm like, nah. And then he's like, if you don't leave now, I will kill you. And then I said, nah. And then he did. And then the bro murdered me. And so then I had to climb all the way back up to see 5 Pebbles, see the whole interaction again, and then actually exit to kind of go to the next location that I needed to go.
That's so funny. Wow.
It's so,
you deserve it.
So,
he gave you a shot, bro.
The thing is, like, I still in my head think that I'm like, I'm the human, I'm the one controlling, like I am better than the game, if that makes sense. But no, like the game is better than me. They all like, they have me in their palm. If they want to kill me right now, they can kill me right now. And totally. That was just like another little thing that the developers did. But what does 5 Pebbles do to you? So he has enhanced your brain, kind of like Ben mentions, and you go to bed, you hibernation station, and then you realize that, oh wait, I don't only have 5 levels of karma, I have 10. You have become like, maybe you understand more things of the world or maybe of yourself now. And you are kind of like a better being because of it. So Slugcat has become better, let's call it like that. And one thing that we haven't talked about on the karma system is that not only do you have these like levels that you will go up and down, but the things that you do in the game affect different side missions or side accomplishments that you can have in the game. And one of them, which is the easiest one to get, if you achieve karma level 5 times, you get a reward called the Passage. And the Passage is a one-time fast travel to any location that you visited prior. So at this point, it probably is the best thing to use. But as any gamer, you want to save it. You want to save it until it's absolutely necessary. So you tell yourself, you know what? I'm not going to use the passage. I'm just going to go west as much as I can. And then I'm going to go south as much as I can. And Ben and I had two totally different experiences, which is hilarious because that is the guideline that he told us: go west, go south. But for some reason we didn't go the same way, and I think it's my fault, to be honest.
No, but I mean, you like the game allows you to do that, right?
Yeah.
There's enough openness in the game to let you get to the place you're going by different means. So yeah, Five Pebbles told me get out of here, and I was like, yes, sir. I'm out of here. So I left his chamber. I kind of went out through the place he tells you, the exit shaft, and started going along the wall. Not a lot happens in the wall, really. You kind of like
the cool thing about the wall, I think, is that you're like really high up in the world, and so you see this huge city, and then you kind of like for the first time get a notion of like this planet was 1,000,000% inhabited by like people, and you don't see anyone, you don't see any people anymore, so that you learn that. And two, there's these murals that explain to you vaguely what the karma symbols represent.
Yeah, so you start getting these murals that kind of show these humanoid kind of looking creatures. Again, there's no explanation of any of this, so you're just left to kind of interpret for yourself. But yeah, I mean, you're kind of going along the wall. You know something has just happened with Five Pebbles, and yeah, you're basically just kind of making your way west and south as you've been instructed to do. And that took me through, I think it was called the Chimney Canopy was the first area I went. And so that was like kind of just like a difficult platforming section. You're kind of going between hanging platforms, and there's also vultures everywhere. There's like 4 vultures basically that are flying around and trying to eat you at all times, so it's hard in that respect. And then I think this is where we differed. I went from the Chimney Canopy to a place called the Sky Islands. And so this was kind of just an extension of Chimney Canopy. It was basically just more sky platforming, some different kind of, you encounter some different kind of creatures here. There's like these specific, they're called like octopus or like octo flies or something. I forget. There's a name for them. But if you grab them, they like flap their wings really fast, and you can use them to. Did you not know this?
No, I didn't go there.
They're in a different part of the game as well. That's really crazy.
Yeah,
That's so crazy.
I didn't know this.
No, it just speaks to how different the game can be. But there's these flies that if you grab them, they let you like fly basically. Not like, anywhere you want, but if you jump, you go a lot higher and you go a lot further. So in this area, you have to use those platforms, or you have to use the flies. You have to catch them and use them to traverse these like kind of longer platforming jumps. So that was kind of a cool and unique area. But wow, that's so crazy that you didn't even know those existed.
No, I didn't.
That's insane to me.
That's so cool.
But yeah, so that was my west and south path. What was your west and south path?
So my west and south path, I did the same thing. From the wall, I went to Chimney Canopy. But then I went south. I went south because I remember that like if I go south, industrial complex is there. So I went basically from the wall, Chimney Canopy, to industrial complex, to outskirts. So I went to like 2 areas that you were there at the beginning of the game. And I was like, bro, I am such a god at this game. Like those areas now felt so easy compared to the rest of the game. And I was flying around, guns a-blazing, throwing 10,000 spears around, killing everything. And I was like, yo, I'm actually getting the hang of this game. It felt great.
Bro, it's cooking right now.
I was cooking. And then from outskirts, I went all the way west to Farm Arrays, which is a similar, I guess it's not that similar area. From Sky Islands, you probably went to Farm Arrays, which is right below it. And in farm arrays, there's a similar situation where you need to use these gigantic deer-looking creatures. You hop
Yeah.
on top of them, and then they take you through a series of these kind of like these worm plants that will not let you traverse unless you are on top of this deer, basically. So you go through them. Then you finally go all the way down. Your first area is called Subterranean. But from farm arrays to subterraneans, you have to kind of toss yourself down into this pit, or at least like where I got there, like that's what you have to do. And is it me, or was that hard? Like every time I threw myself, I died. I like couldn't get the handle of like not dying when I threw myself in this pit. It was so long until someone finally told me, yo, toss yourself and then immediately try to get into a wall so you can kind of slide down. But it just goes to show, like, this game is so hard and so frustrating. And even if I've played 12 hours at this point, maybe more, 15 hours at this point, I still need someone to help me get through that next room. You know, it's tough.
Yeah, I did not struggle with that at
No,
all.
right,
I was
whatever,
like, no, but it's so. I mean, it speaks to the game itself, which is like everybody experiences this game differently. Everybody learns different stuff about this environment that's going to help them. So I think it might have even just like happened by accident, where I jumped down and just like came in contact with the wall, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll just slide down, like no problem.
No, whatever. I don't even care.
But you get down this giant pit into Subterranean, which is really cool. It's like a train tunnel, basically. There's all these kind of train cars laid out. There is a lot of lizards all over the place. That's kind of the main thing to get by in this area, is all these lizards.
But they can't see, so it's only based on
right.
Oh, not quite yet, right? No, in Subterranean, it's they can still see. In the next area, there's lizards that are more mole-like.
Right. Yes.
But
you're getting through. Yeah, that's okay. You jumped ahead a minute. There's really not like a ton to these areas besides because you've kind of seen all of the enemies at this point.
You have, like, and you're so much like better at the game now.
Yeah, like you know what to do. You know, like, okay, if there's a lizard here, I know I just have to avoid it or distract it. You know, I'll throw a brick at it and run away and come back or something. Kill it.
At this point, I was playing like aggressive slugcat. Slugcat became. I think I got that achievement. I got the like, I don't know what it's called. Foe instead of friend or something like that. You know, I was just absolutely murdering these lizards.
Sure. Yeah. So you get through and you reach kind of like what I'll call like the final boss of this game, which is the filtration system. You get here, it is totally red. It looks like it just looks like you're in like a series of like very steampunky, kind of like you mentioned before, pipes.
Yep.
Everything is red. Everything is dark. There's lizards everywhere. These lizards, like you mentioned a second ago, can't see very well, so they rely on their hearing. So you have to kind of be careful about that. And yeah, this area is kind of like a maze, honestly. You kind of have to, there's like one very specific exit that you're looking for to get to the next area. And it takes you a little bit to find where it is. Actually, this is kind of funny. When I first got to this area, I was trying to make my way through it. And one of the lizards caught me. It like caught me in its mouth. And one thing that happens in this game is if a lizard catches you, or if a predator catches you, it'll grab you and it'll look like you're dead. And the game will tell you that you're dead. But it's subtle, because when the lizard has you, you have to look at the slug cat, because the slug cat, it has eyes where if you're just injured, it'll just be kind of like I don't know how to describe it, but it'll look like you're just kind of, it's like ouchy, like it's like he's in pain. Do you not know this?
No.
Oh my, it's crazy.
Bro, every time I got grabbed, I was like, reset, fuck, I died.
No,
I
dude.
thought it was over.
If a lizard grabs you,
Oh
you're
my
just like
God,
injured.
dude.
But the game tells you you're dead, game over. But there's certain scenarios where, like, if another lizard comes in and starts fighting it, they'll drop you and you will be able to escape.
Oh my, stop, dude. That I hate.
I
hate
can't.
it so much.
It's so
That's
funny
crazy.
that you didn't know that.
No,
It's so
dude.
funny.
I was like one hit KO every time. I was like, I'm dead. That's
Wow,
wild that you can.
that's
so,
crazy.
so you,
eventually you do die. It
Right,
doesn't
of
like go
course.
on indefinitely.
Yeah.
Basically, the rule is like if you're on the screen, you're still alive. If you can't see Slugcat anymore, you're dead.
What? Who comes up with these rules? See, that's the thing about the game. No one tells you
The
shit.
dev, bro.
No one.
Yeah.
So the mole got you, and you escaped, and then you were able to get through the filtration system.
No, the lizard mole grabbed me and brought me several screens over to the exit, pretty much.
That long
And-
you were in his mouth?
Yes,
I hate
yes,
you, bro.
literally.
I
I
don't
went
hate you,
like
honestly.
multiple screens in the lizard's mouth, and then he dropped me, and I was like, "I'm alive!" And I like ran, and I found the exit. It was insane.
I'm so mad. That's crazy.
I can't believe you didn't know that.
That's
wild.
honestly awesome. That's awesome. I was gonna tell you that I was super proud of myself because filtration system took me like 2 minutes. It always happens in like maze or metroidvania games where there's one area where you accidentally pick like the correct 7 turns, like in the first time, and then you exit. And I was like, oh, okay, I made it out. Cool. It took me like one try, maybe. And I was like, okay, those moles were like fine, I guess. No one caught me. It was whatever. And then I was looking at the Discord or we also streamed this on Twitch a little bit, and people were like, what the hell, you got through that so quickly? Like that area takes people a long time. And I was like, oh man, I guess that was just too easy for me, bro. No, I was just lucky,
Too
obviously.
easy.
But then you reach the depths, and the depths, everything changes, and you realize, oh dang, I'm here. I made it. What ends up happening is you get out of the filtration system into the depths, and it looks completely different than anything. Five Pebbles had told you that an ancient civilization had built these temples in the depths, and that's what you're looking for. And that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like kind of like a combination of like Mayan pyramids ish with this like sci-fi nature and maybe some, of course, Eastern like religion kind of totems, I guess, with it. Mm-hmm. And it's really, really trippy because as you walk through it, slowly the screen starts kind of melting a little bit. There's this almost like, if you think about it, there's this like filter over the screen that is like yellow in nature, and it looks like everything is kind of melting, and you slowly start moving a little bit slower. And there's these gigantic creatures called the Guardians, and they all have an X on their face, but that X is level 10 karma. It's the highest karma. And I didn't know this, but if you go to this area and you have never reached the highest karma, it doesn't matter if you don't have the highest karma right now, but if you've never reached the highest karma, they won't let you through. They will kick you out and kick you out and kick you out until eventually you're stubborn enough, they'll kill you. So you can't like quote unquote speed run it. You have to go see 5 Pebbles. You have to get the 10 karma. You have to achieve it once, and then you can go down to the depths. They have a box for a head. And I jumped on one of them, and I felt really good. And I was hanging out on top of the Guardian head. I feel like everyone did it. If you like video games, you do it. But let's go back to actually the end of the game. You eventually reach this area that looks like a lake or like a big body of water. But this body of water is yellow. You jump in, and you notice that Slugcat can actually breathe in this water. In every other water, of course, you drown. You have to come up for air. But here, you can breathe. And so there's only one way to go but down. You go through and down this body of water. You keep going. You keep going. You keep going. You keep going. And then eventually...
You keep going. you go for so long.
You really do go for so long. But eventually... you are kind of not in the water anymore. You are kind of like in like space, it feels like. And there's these giant worms that are flying around the screen. They are so giant, like they're like a million times your size. And you just are getting kind of hit. You're in their way. That's what it felt like to me. They're
Right.
like, what are you doing here? We have bigger things to do. And they're hitting you, and you are like getting pushed left and right and left and right. You're still trying to swim down as fast as you can until eventually one of them grabs you and just kind of like drags you.
Well, it's so funny because like you're just getting battered around by these giant things that have like no regard for you as a creature. And there's this really funny moment where all these worms are flying past you, and then one kind of flies past you and then comes back. And then this little like face looking thing kind of extends out from it, and it just kind of looks at you. And, without saying anything, because there's not any dialogue here, you can just sense that it's thinking to itself, like, what are you doing here? Like, how did you get here? And it just kind of looks at you for a bit and just kind of stays looking at you like, And then it kind of reaches out and like attaches a little thing to you and then just shoots off. And you just like, you're flying.
You are absolutely getting your ass dragged around for what it feels like ever, until eventually they kind of let you go, and then you just keep swimming down. And then the screen is dark, completely dark. And then eventually there's not just one of you, there's two of you. Then there's three of you. Then there's four. Then for the first time, you are seeing slug cats. The whole time in the game, you have never seen not one other motherfucking slug cat. Not one other, just yourself. But now there's hundreds of you. And they're all mimicking you. They're doing the same movements as you, so you're still quite unsure if they are other slug cats or not. There's a light that starts shining in the corner of your screen, and then you intuitively start swimming towards it. You swim, until eventually you reach the light, you go through the light, and you get this ending, again, cutscene, but it's just a picture that it's Slug Cat looking into what looks like to him paradise, and there's a platform full of other Slug Cats, and then you think, okay, I've made it home, and you get an achievement from Steam that says Ascension, and you have ascended to a different plane of existence, you think, and you've made it quote unquote home. And then the credits roll, and that's Rain World. And it's just like, what the hell just happened?
It's an insane note to end on. Like, for all the lack of lore in this game, to end it on that sequence where, like, in the span of 10 minutes, you encounter this, like, void plane and these, like, godlike worm entities that are just like swimming beneath the surface of the world, and then you ascend and you reach this plane like you talked about. It's crazy, and it just leaves you speechless. It
literally does. You have no idea what to think, and then the credits roll, and that's it. And then you wake up, if you want to keep playing, in your previous hibernation station, and you're like, what? So my question to you, Ben, is what does the ending mean to you? Like, how did you, in the moment, and maybe now you have changed your mind, but what does it mean to you? Or what did it mean to you, that ending?
I think I had gathered at this point from the Five Pebbles dialogue and from kind of the like iconography and like kind of the karma system and like kind of the Buddhism undertones and like the temple and stuff like that. I had kind of gathered that there was some form of like ascension was what was happening. Like, obviously, up until, the end of the game, basically, I was like, okay, this is cool. When do I find my family? That's what I was thinking. So when this ascension happened and you're kind of reunited with the slug cat family and the spirit tree or whatever it is, I was like, that's like nice, but it like I don't know. I'm a little sad in a way as well.
Sure.
Like I it's complicated. It's complicated to talk about because it's like there's the big thing in this game is this cycle, right? This kind of karmic cycle that you're trapped in and that everyone is trapped in. And you're trying to escape it. But like, why are we trying to escape it? Like, obviously, Slugcat's not having a great time. He's like dying all over again. He's, all this stuff. But like, if you were to give me the option of do this or find my family and go with them, I'm taking the family option.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So I liked the ending. It was an incredible audio and like visual experience, but I was like not let down. I was just like, it's a little sad in a way.
I think for me, I was kind of like, okay, this is dying. Like dying in this game, finally leaving your corporeal world and your corporeal body into another plane of existence is what happened to Slugcat. But in a similar tone to you, what I hope is that this is a better place for Slugcat. Like, I hope that this ascension actually means that if he was suffering and hated the life and death cycle, as Five Pebbles mentioned, and could maybe tell that Slugcat was frustrated with it, then I hope that that doesn't repeat itself. The reason why I say I hope it doesn't repeat itself is because I believe that in this void kind of plane, time doesn't exist. Like, time literally doesn't exist. Time doesn't pass. And you see so many versions of yourself in that place. And I don't believe that this game wants to talk about parallel universes or parallel lines or lives or whatever.
Yeah.
I kind of worry that Slugcat reached ascension, but ascension in and of itself also is some sort of cycle. And eventually you're thrown out of ascension and you have to kind of reach it again and again and again. And it really is another cycle that maybe doesn't feel like one because you have like a good ending and then like a bad place. But that's kind of what I felt. I didn't really understand why they would do different versions of Slugcat of swimming around with him to reach ascension if it wasn't that it was him again, and so that's kind of what the conclusion that I came up with was. But it made me sad in a way, for sure.
I didn't I didn't think about that part too hard. I was just kind of like, I've died a billion times in this playthrough. Maybe that's just like all the versions of my soul kind of converging in this, ascension or something like that.
Yeah,
or like
cute.
Maybe it's other Slugcats or something. Not that we've seen any other Slugcats, but I don't know, something like that. But I mean, I don't think there's like a lore answer to what you said. Like I don't think that answer exists.
Yeah,
in the
there's
lore
not a lot of
anywhere,
answers in general.
It's possible.
Yeah.
No, there's
but
not.
Speaking of not a lot of answers in lore, Ben, this whole time, like if you're listening to this and you haven't played the game or you haven't really like, you don't really know anything about the lore. If you listen to this, you kind of aren't really understanding in general what the game and the story and like the history of the world that you're experiencing in right now is.
Same.
And so, Ben, did you look anything up? Like, how does one find about this lore? And if you do know about it, can you share a little bit about it?
Yeah. So basically, to answer your question, I looked stuff up. I like watched videos. I looked up articles about kind of the lore of this game. If you don't want to do that, the way you find the lore in this game is by all of the little pearls in the world that you found. All of them are actually little like data chips, basically. And so you have to bring them to Looks to the Moon, and she will read them and kind of tell you what is on them. And each one will just contain like a tiny snippet of lore, basically. And then you mentioned the monk earlier, but there's also a hard mode. So monk is easy mode. There's also like a hard mode, which is the hunter. And that the hunter is like just like Rambo, basically. He can hold more spears. He's like just deadly. but everything else is like super deadly as well. So there's also little bits of lore associated with completing playthroughs as those two characters. So we just did the Survivor, we completed that. But if you go back and you complete it as the monk and as the warrior, you get more little bits of lore that you learn a bit more. But you're talking about 100 hours of playtime at that point. You're talking about multiple playthroughs. You're talking about a crazy level of completion in finding all of the pearls and bringing them back to this one point to get like a little paragraph of lore, basically. And if that's your cup of tea, like, I'm not here to yuck your yum. If that's how you want to play the game, do it. But I'm not the kind of guy that's going to be doing all that. So I looked up the lore, and this is what I found. Basically, in this world, there existed a race of people called the Ancients. Mm-hmm. So these are the people that existed in all the murals we saw. These are the people that once inhabited this world. And I say once because for whatever reason, the Ancients were stuck in the same karmic cycle that we were. And all they wanted to do was escape it. They were sick of rebirth. They were sick of being trapped in this cycle. They wanted to escape the cycle. And so they found a couple methods to escape the cycle, to ascend, basically. Number one was basically a religious ceremony where you like drink this specific tea that will kind of kill you if you do it the right way and kind of escape you from this karmic cycle. Or as they kind of developed technologically, they discovered the void fluid, which is what we encountered at the end of the game and what we swam through. So basically, beneath the layer of the earth exists this sea of void fluid. And if you make it to the void fluid and you throw yourself in, you will ascend. The void fluid will kind of dissolve you, I guess, and you will ascend through this process. You will not resurrect. So all of the ancients start doing this, but there's a problem. If number one, the ritual with the tea is not like an exact science, it doesn't work for everyone. And number two, if you go into the void fluid, but you're not like pure of heart, essentially, like if you have an ego or you're not a good person or something, it will basically spit you back out as like a distorted version of yourself. So we didn't mention it because it's kind of a minor part of the game, but in certain areas of the game, you can encounter these echoes, and these echoes are ancients that tried to go into the void sea that got spit back out for whatever reason. And the echoes will give you a paragraph of lore, basically. So it's
and they have great names. Like the one that I encountered two. It's called man, I have it right here. 6 grains of gravel, mountains abound. It's just like, what? It's so good.
What does that mean?
What does that even mean? It's I love it.
But so you might be thinking to yourself, great, there's this, race of people trying to escape this karmic cycle. Great. What in the world was these supercomputers that we just encountered? Like, who are Moon? Who is Five Pebbles? What is going on? So basically, once the ancients realized that this the void fluid is an imperfect thing that isn't going to ascend all of them, they start developing these things that they call iterators to try to find a solution for what they call the big problem. The big problem being they don't have a reliable method to escape the cycle. And that is where Moon and Five Pebbles come in. They start building these superstructures with crazy computational power that just iterate time after time again, trying to find solutions to this problem, this big problem. But somewhere along the way, all of the ancients just disappear. They're just gone. Maybe they threw themselves into the void sea. Maybe they went somewhere else. We just don't know. It's an unanswered question in the lore. But the ancients are gone. And in their place is just now left the iterators. And the iterators were just designed to solve this problem. They don't know anything else that they can do, so they just continue working. And the result of that is that the environment of this world starts to change. They have to use a lot of water to cool these iterator systems, right? And with that comes these huge releases of water vapor that just so happen to result in these torrential downpours in the world below. So basically, the world that the Slugcat wakes up in is a world that is like on its dying breath. Basically, it is, the ancients are gone. They've either abandoned it or they've all died or ascended, whatever. The iterators are stuck in this cycle of trying to solve this seemingly impossible problem, and they can't really do anything else, and they're kind of falling apart as time goes on. Like Moon has fallen apart. Five Pebbles is succumbing to this rot, basically, as we saw. And that's kind of it. Like, that's kind of it. You're just the Slugcat, bro. What are you supposed to do? Like, what am I supposed to do here?
That's Ben. Incredible summary of the lore. Honestly, I have nothing to add. That is exactly the same things that I read, but you so eloquently put it together. And Ben is right. Not only do these pebbles that you bring to, or pearls that you bring to Moon give you lore, but the 6 echoes give you lore, but also there's a lot of visual representation of the story of the game, but you don't really understand it. So it's kind of hard to really like get anything out of it, at least in your first playthrough. So if you really want to experience the story and the history of this game, then you have to play over and over and over again. And yeah, it's just a lot of time commitment. So the community of Brainworld, they love this game. And they love to talk about it. They also are very like, hey, man, you should just experience the game how it's meant to be experienced. Don't ask any questions and then come back later. But once you do come back later, they are lovely. They will try to teach you everything about the game. And they'll say, hey, man, don't worry about the pearls. Just look at these videos. And that's probably worth it, So yeah, we encourage you guys to do the same, but we will leave it there for part 1. We have talked successfully, I think, about Ringworld. We are going to come back in part 2 to answer the questions that you guys have sent to us on our Discord. So we will be right back after this. Welcome back to part 2 of the show, where we answer the questions that you have sent to us on our Discord. If you want to join Video Game Book Club, the best way to do so is to join our Discord. Ben and I and the community, we talk about the game of the month, basically the whole month. As we're playing it, we share clips of the game, we share moments of the game, we talk about stuff, we have lots of discussions. If you want to be a part of it, join. So the first question, it comes from one of our newest members, Apollo/Cedar. And the question I'm going to ask you, Ben, is, I haven't played many Metroidvanias, but based on what I've heard about what classifies a game as a Metroidvania, would Rainworld be considered a true Metroidvania? It definitely has elements from what I loosely understand about the genre, and I'm curious what your thought is.
Yeah, I mean, I think you would have to classify this as a true Metroidvania. Like, it has all of the, like, if you were to ask me what a Metroidvania is, I would tell you it is a game, a 2D game that involves some degree of platforming and, kind of set spaces, like kind of set spaces that are kind of connected by these kind of paths between them, and probably involve like some form of combat as well. So Rainworld is definitely a super unique Metroidvania, but I think I would have to classify it as, like a true Metroidvania. Would you?
I remember we had a discussion when at the beginning of the game, when I was extremely frustrated and I was being like a gigantic poo-poo face about Game World. I remember, I'm very emotional, as you can tell. So when I'm feeling something, I just like blurt it out, and I said I didn't consider Rain World a true Metroidvania. I still don't. I think I consider it a Metroidvania. It's definitely a Metroidvania, but I don't think it's like a true Metroidvania. I think a Metroidvania is basically 2 things. It's an interconnected map that is non-linear, and then it has paths that are locked behind ability gating. And I can't really say that the karma system is an ability gate. It's different. It's a different type of gate. So for that reason, I can't call it like you play.
But the ability
Metroid.
is here, bro.
Bro, the ability is in the brain,
here.
but it's not a real ability in the game. You know, like you play Super Metroid, and you like the first time you get like the ball ability, and you can get on the ball.
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
you jump.
I think that's
and
fair.
then that's what kind of gets you cooking, or Hollow Knight with the double jump, and you get cooking on a different area. But in here,
Sure.
it's more like you're stuck until you reach a certain like. Yeah, I guess karma level. There's no other way. It's crazy. And I don't think Metroidvanias traditionally need to be, or traditionally they are 2D. I don't think they necessarily need to be 2D, but that's just like a little aside. Like I think like Metroid Prime is Metroid is a Metroid.
Sure, yeah, sure.
I guess it has Metroid in its name, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Cedar has a second question. Do you have any thoughts on Rain World's environmental storytelling?
I do. I think it uses, or tries to use a lot of environmental storytelling. That's basically the only storytelling in the game is through the environments you're in. We talked about the garbage wastes. Everything is super decrepit and crumbling. We talked about being on top of the wall and seeing this abandoned city, right? Nobody is telling you what's going on in this world, but you're getting the sense that there used to be inhabitants. Maybe they're not here anymore. I don't know why. I don't know how. You get like little lore moments, like we said, with Five Pebbles and Looks to the Moon. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, the only storytelling in the game is the environment. And I mean, you kind of like, if you don't go the completionist route, you're gonna end the game being like, what just happened?
Exactly. Yeah.
So in that regard, it's like, I don't want to call it insufficient, but if they're trying to tell a full story through the environment by itself, they didn't succeed in that. And I don't know if that's what they were trying to do. So I can't really say I like hold that against them. I think they probably told the story they wanted to tell within the game, and they left kind of the nuggets in there for whoever wanted to go find them. So yeah, it definitely tries to use that environmental storytelling, and it's effective in a lot of ways, but not in conveying like the full narrative, I wouldn't say.
I agree. I kind of wanted to describe this in preparation for this question as you go to like a museum, and it's a beautiful exhibition by all of these paintings from Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo, she would put so many different details and like hidden messages in her paintings. And you're in this exhibit, but oh my God, there is a huge man with an axe trying to like cut you in half as you're going through this exhibit. So you only have like a certain amount of time to glimpse at these paintings, and then you have to run away. Like you have to run away and evade this guy. So the first time that you play the game, you don't really get any environmental storytelling, I think. I mean, it's very, very little. So you don't understand, to your point, you don't understand anything that goes around in the game. Then you finish the game, you still don't get it. So you look stuff up. You find the people that love this game and that have put the time to understand this game have all of this information out there that then you can kind of read upon. Then you play the game again. You are a lot better at the game. You can juke the big man with an axe around, and then you can actually experience and enjoy the paintings from Frida Kahlo. And that's kind of, to me, like what this game feels like. So is the world environmental storytelling effective? No. Is it good? Yes. Like, is it good? Yes. Is it effective? It's not effective because you can't focus on it. Like, it's really hard to focus on it. But again, I don't want to, like, I'm not docking any points for that. It's just kind of like, they made this gameplay loop like as it is. So, it is what it is. We're not going to focus on the environment.
I will move on to the next question from VGBC member Inferno Disco. Inferno asks, why do you think Rain World has such a big following despite being such a brutally difficult and punishing game? Which area or moment stuck with you the most in the game, and why?
So I think that this game has a big cult following, similarly to why I think like FromSoft games have a big cult following. FromSoft games came out, like, I mean, they've been out for a long time, but in the PS3 era, they came out with Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, and Dark Souls 2. And all of those games were extremely difficult and kind of hard to get into. And they kind of split this like fan base of people who like tried their game in two ways, or players maybe. One who couldn't really get into the game because it was way too difficult and they kind of didn't really want to. Lore is hidden behind item descriptions. There's no real story. It is punishing. I lose all of my items or, souls whenever I die. It's too tough. But then there's another type of player that says, I want the challenge, I want to overcome it, and I want to put the time into the game. And once they do, they discover that there's this like huge golden nugget underneath this big pile of hay. And people, it's just really hard for me to justify sometimes putting the time in to find the nugget in the hay. Because at this point in my life, and like how many people feel, I don't have a lot of time to play games. I wish I did. And I have to make a lot of time to play these games for VGBC. And it's kind of not disappointing, but it feels bad when I play a game that all it does is slap me in the face. It's just like, hey, I log on and I get slapped in the face and then I cry for an hour and then I'm like, all right, I gotta go play again. And then it slaps me in the face a little bit more. And I feel like most players feel the same way, But what ends up happening? That group of people, maybe small percentage of people at the beginning who really like locked in and put the time into the game, by word of mouth and by like explaining what the game is about, will kind of get the people that like complexity and like complex games to join their ranks. And then it kind of makes you feel like you're better. It kind of makes you feel like you're better, and that like a little bit of like a superiority complex, a little bit. I'm not, I don't want to come for anyone, but like it kind of makes you feel like, yo, I understand this game. I put the time in. I can figure out complex games. So I love this game. And I think that that's kind of what happens to everyone. And that's why this becomes like such a cult following, It's kind of like this word of mouth, like is important. And two, for the second part of the question, the moment that stuck with me is when I finally killed my first lizard, because I kind of like finally, like I rode that high. I'm like, oh my God, I defeated the game. And I didn't really do anything. I just killed the lizard. But like that first win felt so good. I remember too, I was streaming that moment and someone in chat said that I can retrieve the spear that I threw into the lizard, which I didn't even know that you could do. Like I would like throw a rock, throw a spear, then go get another spear and throw that. And it was great to throw the rock, stun them, throw the spear, run to them, grab the spear, throw it again, grab it again, throw it again. I was like, yeah, I'm little slug cat, but I'm the best. And then I really like when I rode the bog dolphins for the first time, because that elevated the experience for me. And that kind of unlocked the idea that any game can be extremely fun if you really want it to be. Like something so simple as riding a little bug in the water made me so happy. And I think it kind of elevated the way that I think about games, like, because of Rain World. So, yeah.
Sure. I would say the part of the game that stuck with me the most is not even a gameplay moment that happened, but it was just like thinking about the game after I finished it. Because there's a science fiction writer named Isaac Asimov that has written like tons of books, short stories, and everything. And he's written a particular short story called The Last Answer. There's another one called The Last Question that's a lot more popular, but there's one called The Last Answer. And the plot of the short story is basically, there is this guy, he has died, and his soul has been resurrected by some sort of omnipotent being, and the being says like, as far like the best terms that you could use to describe me are God. Like for all intents and purposes, I'm God to you, basically. And you're a scientist. Like when you were alive, you were a scientist. So I am bringing you back, and I'm telling you, go explore the universe and learn something. Bring me back something that I didn't know about the universe. Go out, learn something, and bring it to me. And the guy is like, I don't want to do that. I'm not exploring. I didn't ask to be resurrected. I'm not bringing you back. And God's like, I don't, figure it out. Like you're here. You have the rest of eternity. What are you going to do besides go think about stuff and learn stuff? And the guy's like, I'm just going to sit here and do nothing. And God's like, that's fine. You can do nothing as long as you want. And he's like, well, how about this? I'm going to find out how to destroy you. I'm going to destroy you. And God's like, perfect. That sounds honestly perfect. Like that actually is all I wanted to know, is how to destroy myself. So you go out in your vindictiveness and you figure out how to do that. So it's like this story of this like soul that has no choice but to continue thinking and to continue learning. And I read this short story years ago, but sitting down, it like popped in my mind again. And I was like, that is what the iterators are. The iterators are these little robots who have been abandoned and stuck here through no fault of their own. And they're like, there's moments, there's dialogue, and this is like in like the deep lore of this game that we didn't really touch on. But there's moments where the iterators are like, why are we still doing this? The ancients are gone. Like, why are we still trying to solve this big problem? And they kind of come to the conclusion, like, what else are we going to do? What else are we going to do? We're here for until we disintegrate, basically. What else are we going to do? So let's just continue working on it. And I don't know, like something about that, like, I don't know if that short story was an inspiration for them. It was written, decades ago. But if it was an inspiration for them, I think it's super cool. And making that connection between like those two kind of pieces of media after I finished the game was like a light bulb moment for me, kind of.
Damn, Benny, that was an incredible answer. Thank you so much for sharing. And I need to go read that short story and the question one too, since it's,
read both. They're both excellent.
We have another question from a Discord member, Joe, and he asks, Are you a happier person for having seen Rain World through to the finish?
I would say yeah. I would say like I've spent like a couple years at this point, because this game's been out for a while. I spent like a couple years knowing that I wanted to play this game, but not having the opportunity or not having the initiative, I guess. And so this was like the perfect opportunity, picking it for Video Game Book Club. Like, I'm going to give myself a month. I'm going to play it. I'm going to experience this game that I've been hearing everybody talk about for so long at this point, and I'm going to do it. And for all of the frustration, for all of like the times where I basically rage quit, like, yeah, I'm glad that I finished the game. I think it is I don't know if I'd call it transformative, but it like is so unique in the way that it goes about itself, if that makes sense. Oh, yeah. In the learning about the environment, in the interacting with all these different environmental systems, that yeah, I can't say I've played another game like it, and like I'm so happy to have experienced it.
I couldn't be happier. I am so much more of a happier person now that I finished Rain World. I've genuinely like, whenever we have been deep diving in these lores, or like when I go on the wiki and I try to figure out more about the game post finishing it, and just knowing that there's like 5 or 6 different characters that I can play that all have their own standing story. If you get the DLC, that all have their own standing story, and they all have like their own unique abilities to traverse this world and different endings. I'm like, yes, like it just made me want to play more of it. Like, I get the game now, I understand it. And to your point, so much frustration. It was like funny. It was like a joke. Like in the Discord, anytime you would talk about Rain World, I would put like a grimacing face about it. because I was just so bad at the beginning. And people would like throw these gifs of like, some dude smoking a cigarette and like massaging their temples because they're so frustrated about wanting to play the game. And they're like, this is JP right now. And they're not wrong, like that's what I felt. But oh my God, like just sticking with it, the reward that it gives you is immense. And I think transformative is the correct word. I feel a lot stronger as a pseudo game journalist, let's call ourselves, after playing this game than before it. And speaking to that, a lot of game journalists, real game journalists that reviewed this game, gave it a bad score. One, because they probably didn't have enough time. Yeah, one, because they probably didn't have enough time to rate it properly and actually like spend a month like us playing the game in like short bursts. But two, because they really didn't want to maybe put the effort in understanding it. And because of VGBC and because we do put effort into everything we do, it was beautiful. Like, this is a stupid example, but like making a croissant is enraging. It's so dumb. You just like, if you want to make it properly and you want to get like 10,020 or 1,024 layers, and you have to like do the threefold and then put it in the freezer, then bring it back and do the three folds again and put it in the freezer and bring it back. Do you think you're enjoying doing that? No, you're not. You're not enjoying the process at the beginning. And the first time you do it, you find it so frustrating. Then you make that beautiful flaky croissant and you eat it and you're like, oh my God, I'm the best chef in the world. Then the next time when you make that beautiful butter and batter layer, or dough, butter and dough layer, and you get to layer 1024, you're like, damn, I love it. I love folding these. I love doing this. Like that, all of that meticulousness and like frustrations go away. And then you kind of really understand what the craft of this game is. And that's kind of how I feel about it. I loved it. Yeah. So thank you for the question, honestly, because it made me do that crazy analogy. Okay, I skipped over a question, so I'm really sorry. Inferno Disco actually had a second question that I'm about to ask you. A more general question regarding video games. What traits matter most to you when ranking or reviewing a game? What's your order of prioritization for these aspects? For things like gameplay, story, characters and writing, graphics, design, style, atmosphere, art direction, etc.
Yeah, I would say for me, tier 1 is gameplay and enjoyment. Like, I have to enjoy the gameplay of the game, and I have to be having maybe not even a good time, but I have to, like, there has to be a driving force behind me playing the game. If it's just a game where I feel like I'm not really accomplishing anything, I'm not going to be super motivated to play it. So that's tier 1. Tier 2 for me would probably be story and something like characters and writing. And then below that would be like, graphics, audio, art direction, and stuff like that. I'm really somebody that appreciates like the gameplay and kind of the overall, I don't know, point of the game, like more than visuals or something like that, I guess.
I'm not too dissimilar as you. For me, tier 1 would be gameplay and enjoyment. I think enjoyment comes in different factors depending on the player. For me, enjoyment comes from challenges, puzzles, things that I need to solve or things that I need to crack make me feel really good. And that's kind of like a motivator for me to play games. Like the more... this is interesting because the more challenging a game is, I typically like it more. But Brain World is just such a specific, like, unique game that maybe that kind of goes out the window a little bit. Tier 2, I would actually go for style and design. Like, I love, like, when a game has a really good style, it really draws me in, and I'm kind of like attracted to that. Like, it can be anything from like UI UX, from like menuing, from like funky music, from character design, menu design, anything, item design, world design, like anything that is more like artistic in nature. Maybe because I'm so bad at it, I'm like, oh God, I love that. And then I think my last tier would be like the writing and the story. I think I've like enjoyed so many games. I mean, honestly, like kind of like Neon White. Why do I have Neon White so high in my list and a lot of people don't? It's because it has best gameplay and best style. Like it's so stylish, sounds so good, and the gameplay is smooth and cool. Is the story good? Hell no. Are the characters writing good? Not really, you know? Like
And that's such a perfect example of our two different tiers, because to you that's one of your, if not your favorite game of all time. To me, like, it's a game I enjoyed, but I'm not like putting it on my Mount Rushmore or anything like that. I'm like, yeah, it was fun, but like the story was kind of weird, and
It
like
was weird.
that's what I remember about it. I was like, the gameplay was fun, but the story was weird, and like, you know, whatever. So that it's like a perfect example. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, listen, it's not my favorite game of all time. It's just in my top 5. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Yeah. I will ask you the final question that we have. It comes actually from none other than Hideo Kojima. Kojima, you would not believe, is an active member of the Video Game Book Club Discord.
Incredible
so
stuff.
if you join, you can talk to him. I'm so thankful to you, Kojima-san, for giving us your time. It is unbelievable. Kojima asks us, what lasting impact do you think Rain World will have on you for the genre?
I mean, immediately what I think is like I can't wait to hop into more Metroidvanias. You know, like I always like thought of myself as someone who enjoys Metroidvanias.
This is a good time to do that.
But you know, this game is just making me think of this genre as probably one of my more important genres, and maybe I didn't really realize that until this moment. So much so that I started like going in rabbit holes on like, how do I play all the 2D Metroid games in order? What are the best ways to play them? How should I play them?
Oh my god.
And I'm like, you know, maybe we should start there. How can I understand a Metroidvania if I don't understand 2D Metroid? You know, it really made me appreciate the genre. And you know, in Video Game Book Club, like we touch on so many different genres, and you know, we play a game like Spiritfarer, comparing it to this one. Spiritfarer is a completely different game. Does it have Metroidvania aspects? Sure, a little bit, but like it's not really a Metroidvania, right? Did it make me want to play more like management sim cozy games? Not particularly, but that's fine. The game was fine. It was good. We liked it. But then you reach Rain World, or you reach Outer Wilds, or you reach Nine Souls, or you reach something like Arco or Dredge, and it's such a unique game that it just makes you want more of it. And
yeah,
lasting impact on the genre, it's that number go up, baby. It's on my top tier now. It's very happy with it.
Yeah, I'd say I'm like, yeah, probably similar to you. Like, I like a good Metroidvania. Like, you know, Hollow Knight, great game. That's like probably the only Metroidvania I could say I've played. Well, no, Nine Souls as well. So those are two where I feel like I need like a good Metroidvania to really like it. I need a Metroidvania that also has some form of really fun gameplay and also like a good story. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm in, I'm there. Like, I'm not running back to experience more Metroidvanias in like my day-to-day basically, but when a good one comes around, I'm like, I'm in, I'm locked in.
Sure.
And as far as lasting impact, I mean, I just like, I really like when games use that knowledge mechanic. Like I think of other games like Outer Wilds or like Tunic is a huge one with that. I like when a game, it's because it breaks the fourth wall in a way. It's like the answer was always there. Like, it's just sitting there. I just didn't know how to interact with it, and now I do, and I can go do it. And I just think it's so clever. And like, I would love to see Rain World is like, honestly, well, no, I think Tunic is kind of the pinnacle of that, but Rain World is like so transformative for that mechanic, like this when it came out. So yeah, I would just love to see that explored in more ways, basically, like in more ways outside of Metroidvanias and outside of, you know, games like that. So it's just such a unique mechanic in gaming, and one that I would love to see more of.
Knowledge. That's my answer now, actually. I changed my answer to Benny's answer because I liked it so much. Ben, I have some rapid fire questions for you. All right. So buckle up, lock in. We're back with rapid fire questions here in Video Game Book Club. What is your favorite Rain World area?
5 Pebbles.
Okay. You got to be quick, brother. I said Shoreline and the Leg. What is your least favorite area?
Oh my gosh. Shoreline.
Oh, what?
I had the most trouble there for some reason.
Really?
I don't know.
I said industrial complex because I had the most trouble there and unfortunate development. 5 Pebbles or Looks to the Moon? Choose one.
Man. I mean, 5 Pebbles, if you get deep into the lore, 5 Pebbles is kind of like, we didn't talk about this, but he's the reason why Moon is like in the state that she's in. He is like their iterator complexes are really close to each other, and he's using all of the water for his. Mm-hmm. So she's like falling into disrepair. So he's kind of like the bad guy of the game, but also he's working to solve this big question. So it's like, is he a bad guy? But yeah, I mean, I gotta go Looks to the Moon. That's all me.
He's a bad guy, but I mean, sorry, he's not a bad guy, but he's done some bad things. But he's not inherently a bad guy.
Yes.
But I agree. Looks to the Moon as well. Orange Overseer or Blue Overseer?
Bro, Orange Overseer was out of there to 5 hours into my game, so I don't even know that guy. And then Blue Overseer, he shows up once every like 10 hours of gameplay, so that's useless. So I don't know. Neither.
Neither's a good answer. Yeah, I don't understand Blue Overseer. I said orange all day. My guy was with me all the time. I love them. If you were a slug cat, what color would you be, and what would be your weapon of choice?
What color would I be? Oh my gosh. I feel like I would just be the survivor, honestly. Like I wouldn't be the Rambo slug cat. I wouldn't be, the monk either. I would just be like going about my business, trying to avoid the threats and trying to survive in this ecosystem. I feel like I'd be the survivor.
And weapon of choice?
It doesn't get better than like the firecracker spear, right? The one that you throw and then it explodes. That's the pinnacle. So I'll go with that.
I said I would be a green slug cat, and maybe made up a weapon, maybe like a sticky hand. You know those sticky hands?
Yeah.
Super gross when we were kids. You would stick it on everything and then remove all the dirt from the walls, and you're like, ugh. If I could use that to like grab items, like you're like, slugging around, and then you grab like a stick that's really far away with my sticky hands. That would be a fun one. Okay, favorite enemy.
Oh man, favorite enemy. I don't know. I hated them all so much. I think the one that was like the best design was probably. I'll say my favorite enemy was the one I hated the most, and that was the invisible lizards. Those are annoying because they crawl all over the whole screen. They blend in with the environment so you can't see them. It is impossible. They killed me so many times. So I will say that the one I hated the most was the best.
My favorite enemy was the pole plants because God, it would be so enraging, but absolutely hilarious that you're like, you're flying around, you're platforming here and there and everywhere, and you're like, ooh, I gotta get back to where I need to go, and then you grab a pole, and then it's just a plant that just eats you immediately, and you're like, well, can't climb that pole anymore, thanks. Most hated enemy.
Oh, I mean, I just gave that.
You just gave it away.
But I'll give a different answer. The vultures in the areas of the game where the vultures become a big problem, which is like the Sky Islands and the Shadow Overhang, I forget. Those are so annoying because they're everywhere and they will not leave you alone. So especially when there's multiple of them, I was like, I don't want to interact with you. Leave me alone. So I'll say that for that one.
I hated the creepers, dude. Hated the creepers.
Yeah, those are big octopuses. That's another one. The worst. Hate those.
One last question. Finally, would you have a slug cat as a pet?
Yeah, their slug cats in the lore of the game are basically bioengineered to just be like living pipe cleaners, where they just like go in and out of the iterators through the pipes and clean them out and keep everything cleared out. They've been like bred for that basically. So yeah, sure, a slug cat can like keep my house running smoothly. That sounds great.
You don't think that like it's too sentient to be a pet?
I mean, I do, but like I don't know. My cat's pretty sentient too. I don't
That's
know.
fair. That's fair. I mean, does your cat know about cycles of life and death? My cats don't.
Maybe if they met Five Pebbles, they would, but not right now.
Dude, that's a great answer actually. So I'm gonna change because I said no, but I'm gonna say yes now. And that's all I have for the questions. Ben, let's go into final thoughts and giving a letter grade to this game. Why don't you go first?
I'll go first. I really enjoy this game. I had a lot of frustration with this game, but as a product, I really liked it. The visuals are really incredible for a game that's as low resolution as it is. They pack so much visual fidelity into it, and the environment is incredible looking. The audio design is one of the most underrated aspects of this game. The audio design of this game is so good. The gameplay is so hard, but once you get the hang of it, it becomes kind of satisfying to do. The only area I would ding the game is the storytelling. Like if I'm putting myself in the shoes of a games journalist that isn't going to go watch a 40-minute long video essay about the lore of this game, you complete the game, you have, some idea of what happened, but like you don't know what happened in the story of this game, so how are you supposed to give it a good review? And I understand that. And I'm not dinging it to like a C or anything, but like that is the only area of the game that I would want more from. And, more is there if I want it. It's just like, I don't want to do all that. So yeah. I really like the game. I'm so happy that I finally played it and that we played it and got to talk about it here. I think I'm at an A- for the game.
I hate you because I'm also at an A- on this game, dude. I am. Listen, I feel very similarly to you, so I don't want to like repeat everything, but I think Rain World gave us something very special and has given like the gaming world in general something very special that I clearly say is not for everyone. And even though I want to give, and I will give this game an A-, I don't think I would recommend it to every single one of my friends. Like I would recommend it to very specific people, and I would tell them, grab their face by their cheek and say, listen to me, my man. Talk to me. Whenever you feel frustrated about this game, just send me a message because the internet doesn't like to help. And I will help you.
No, they don't.
Having a little bit more of you don't need a better tutorial. You don't need anything like more, but having a little bit of a push in different directions would be better. Like I'm thinking, if I was put in more situations where they would force me to learn different movement skills, then I can get that knowledge, bring it to the next area and be better at movement. But they never put you in situations specifically designed for you to learn something. Everything has to come from you. Nothing comes from them. And I think that is what makes this game just that little bit of an edge more difficult than maybe it needs to be. Again, once you master it, I mean, not that I'm a master at all, you start loving it and you start meshing with it really well. I agree with you that the storytelling is lacking. I wish I would have known a lot more of the story as I'm experiencing the story. Finding out about it later makes you want to play more, which is great, but also makes me feel like, dang, maybe I would have felt a stronger way about certain things if I knew in the moment who I was talking to, what I was like getting myself into. And All in all, though, even though this game frustrated me, this was a grand game, and I really, really enjoyed it thoroughly. So I'm giving it an A minus as well. We're going to officially stamp it. VGBC
Stamp it.
A minus. You heard it here first. And we're done. Wait, we're not done. Benjamin Toops. We have to keep playing video games for Video Game Book Club. And guess what? It is my turn to pick a video game for the month of September of the year 2025.
Let's do it.
We were just talking about genres, different things that we've been playing. And one genre that we have not played yet in the VGBC lore is monster taming, monster creature collecting type games. Think Pokemon, think Shin Megami Tensei games, think your Monster Hunter Stories games, etc. And I picked a game that was actually recommended in the Discord a while ago, and I kind of kept it in my back pocket just for a moment like today where I can be like, haha, look at this. For September 2025, we are going to be playing Cassette Beasts. It is a 2023 game released by a really small team from the UK, from Brighton, UK, or England, from three people. Are in this indie studio. They have released two games, and Cassette Beast is their second game. And it is a monster taming game where you basically are like lost in this island. You were teleported in this island, and you want to get out. Everyone has been trying to get home. Everyone was teleported into this island, and no one knows how to get out. All they know is it's inhabited by a lot of monsters and creatures that you can somehow transform into if you have a cassette player and headphones. Then you can collect them, and then you can fuse them to create new monsters. And so you have this kind of like mix of Pokemon a little bit and Shin Megami Tensei with the fusing mechanic, and you go around the world and you try to figure it out, I guess. I'm super pumped to play it. It was really great to see like in the Discord our big like kind of reception about how we're gonna play Cassette Beasts. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm pumped too. Pokemon was not a franchise that I've like stuck with really, but it was a big part of my childhood. Like I used to love the Pokemon games. I would get really into them. And I haven't played a game similar to it in a long time. So I'm really excited to see what their take on the genre is. And it's going to be a good time.
Hell yeah, it's going to be a good time. That will do it for us today at this VGBC episode. We really, really, really appreciate you guys tuning in, listening to us just yap about Rain World. And we will continue to enjoy you listening to us when we yap more about Cassette Beasts. Thank you very much again for being here with us. Thank you for doing all the things, liking, subscribing, sharing this, either Spotify, Apple Podcasts or YouTube video with 100 to 500 of your closest friends.
Yes.
And I hope that they join the Video Game Book Club, because we're here with open arms saying, yo, play some games with us, because we love talking about them. We will see you in about 15 days, and we'll have a checkpoint episode, which is our show between the show where we kind of talk and check in about VGBC in general, and we talk about other stuff, a bunch of other stuff, less structured for sure. And if not, we'll see you in a month when we talk about Cassette Beasts. Thank you very much. I hope you have a good weekend or day or whenever, you listen to this. And bye.
Bye.